The hearing of mitigating circumstances in sentencing in the case involving convicted murderer Ntuthuko Shoba has been postponed to the 28th of July. Shoba was found guilty of masterminding the death of 28-year-old Tshegofatso Pule in 2020. He was implicated after convicted hitman Mzikayise Malepane turned state witness Pule, who was 8 months pregnant at the time of her death, was found hanging from a tree in Roodepoort, west of Johannesburg. SABC News reporter Hasina Gori has been following this story for us. Hasina, what happened in court this morning?
Good morning. Yesterday was meant to be the day where convicted murderer Ntuthuko Shoba was expected to find out how long he was meant to spend behind bars after he was convicted in earlier this year for the murder of his 8-month pregnant girlfriend Tshegofatso Pule. She was found hanging from a tree in Roodepoort in 2020. It's been quite a long process for the family and the victims of this senseless crime to get some kind of closure, and the understanding today was that they would be one step closer to finding out when and how long Ntuthuko Shoba would spend behind bars. The understanding from their side was that they were hoping to see another step for them. However, today when we appeared in court, the accused through his defense told the court that they were not ready to proceed as the pre-sentencing report had not yet been completed. They've been granted a postponement for 2 months. But I want to bring in a family member who's been part of this process since the very onset. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Butimile. How are you feeling? Just coming out of court today, which was very short proceedings. What's that initial just reaction from the family?
Sure, it's a huge disappointment, really, because the reasons given for yet another postponement is that the report has been incomplete, the pre-sentencing report. But for us, we are saying there's been a whole month. What was so difficult for this report to be completed? But then I think we've become accustomed to these postponements. We've become accustomed to endless delays, and you know what? We'll just take it as it comes.
The matter has been now postponed for 2 months, but we're also hearing that there may be some appeal from Ntuthuko Shoba with regards to both the conviction and the sentencing. For the family, who's suffered, so many losses already. What's that feeling, and how would you feel if Ntuthuko Shoba had to, bring an appeal to the conviction and sentencing?
It honestly wouldn't be a shocker, considering the fact that it took so long for us to even get out of the magistrate court, because he was always throwing a whole lot of stunts around. If it wasn't one thing, it was the other. So even now we're expecting the same thing. But I think we're just holding on to the hope that, and the fact that at the end it is going to happen and justice will have to prevail, So for us, it's just going to continue being a waiting game, and not just for the sentencing, but also for closure, because this whole thing being prolonged, it still hurts us very deeply. So it's a bit of a bitter one. Yeah.
When we spoke, outside this very same court just over a month ago, when the sentencing happened, it was quite bittersweet, but also just after that, you also celebrated posthumously the birthday of Tshegofatso Pule. Can you describe for the listeners, for those that have been following this case, from the very onset, who Tshegofatso Pule is? I don't think we've ever got a glimpse of who she was as a person, except for the little that we heard through the WhatsApp messages and the little through Shoba's interaction or mention of her. But who was she beyond just the girl that was found, hanging from a tree in, Durban Deep?
Yeah. So come her birthday, it was a bit of a, it was a hard one, But again, we knew that we had to do justice to her, because we knew that had she been around, she would have wanted to pop champagne. She never wanted to compromise. She loved the finer things in life. She was lively. She was full of life. She was always laughing. She was always dancing. And I've always said, she was an A-class fashionista, So you would definitely find her in designer outfits. She was always making sure that, she's got the latest of everything. So her birthday, had she been around, would have been nothing short of class and nothing short of, charisma. So we tried our level best to try, pop champagne on her behalf. And, though it was sad, but we made sure that, at least we did something for her.
I did see those videos and it did look like you all did remember her. I want to talk about her foundation, the Tshegofatso Pule Foundation. What does it hope to, aim and inspire, and who would it benefit from that foundation?
So, Hasina, as you know, that this was actually birthed from when we were getting so much support during Tshego's funeral. And what happened was we saw that with a whole lot of other people, the curtains died down. Everything, as soon as the lights go off and the cameras are away, the families are left with very little support system. And we saw that we didn't get that. We had so much support. We're still getting so much support now. And we thought, what better way to give, thanks to everybody else by giving back, what we got. So the people that get to benefit from us are families and victims of GBV. And the kind of support that we give is the kind that we make sure that we accompany them to court. We make sure that their cases are heard. We make sure that they get counseling, given the fact that we've now formed bonds with different stakeholders. We are still self-funded. However, we make sure that we attend all the court cases and make sure that the victims are catered for and the families are supported as much as possible. So for us, we want people not to remember Tshegofatso for the way that she died, but also from the deeds that will be done in her name.
Thank you so much. That was one of the family members and activists as well, someone who's been here through the entire process, from the onset at the Randburg Magistrates Court all the way now into the High Court where Ntuthuko Shoba was found guilty of the murder of Tshegofatso Pule. Today was meant to be the mitigation or aggravation of sentencing. However, when we arrived at the court this morning, we were told that it would be postponed due to the accused unable to complete the pre-sentencing report, and in the interest of justice and ensuring that the accused is given a fair trial, a postponement of 2 months has been allowed, and he will return to court on the 28th July. We spoke to both the NPA as well as the uncle and Bushle here earlier on, and all speaking and saying that this is quite a serious crime, and the normal criminal act would call for a life sentence or life imprisonment. We heard from the uncle earlier saying that anything less than life imprisonment would be an injustice, and they don't see the court deviating from that. We'd find out on the 28th of July once this process has been completed and mitigation of sentencing begins, whether or not Ntuthuko Shoba will be given a life sentence. We also may find that the accused does bring a appeal to both the conviction and the sentencing, but for now the matter has been postponed, and we'll return to court for this matter on the 28th of July. But for now, back to you in studio.